So here's what you need. This is for your own essays, right? You need a way to make people interested. So if you go back, actually, you can do this yourself. I don't know why I was. Um, if you take a look on Blackboard and you go to where I said there's slides and recordings or videos or whatever, last week you can find sort of the suggestions for how to hook people's interest. Now the thing is, you're telling sort of a personal story about something that you did, so that sort of limits what you want to do. Meaning, like, I don't know that you need statistics. That seems like an odd way to start something that's a personal narrative. But you want to try to word it in a way that's catches someone's or makes people sort of interested in it, right? Like, I decided that I would never be able to learn how to use the internet. You go, wait, what? And then you go on and tell your story. Like, some sort of shocking thing. That's one of the techniques. In any event, if you want other techniques, you can go to that slideshow and just look at them. There's like 8, and some of them will definitely work for this. So you need to grab their interest in the first 2 sentences. That's sort of my vague rule of thumb. But then here's the thing I want to make sure everybody has. You need to have a thesis statement. So in this type of essay, the thesis statement is basically expressing what it is that changed, like what changed. That's every single narrative, every single story, personal essay, and so on. The thesis of those stories are what has changed. I used to think the world was this way, or understand things this way, or believe this way. This event happens, and now I have a different view or perspective or idea. So you want to figure out what yours is, and you want that to basically be at the end of your introductory paragraph. Right? So you hook the reader's interest, you sort of bring up the subject that you're going to be dealing with, and you want to end with some statement that's going to say or express what it is that changes. Now, this is not a big deal. It doesn't have to be a big deal change, right? It doesn't have to be like, I don't know, like I didn't believe in God, and then I learned about Instagram, and now I believe in God, right? It's like probably not that big of a deal. But it's some shift, right? So for me, I could do my first time setting up a website to do this business. I had a great idea, something, and I'm doing that. And then what I'm learning in this process, that I'm capable of being able to do this, and I reach other people who I don't even know, and they're looking at stuff that I made or whatever. Like, so there's revelation or ideas or insight or something. Something happens. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Like I said, it's not. We're not looking for like the life-altering thing, but everybody, when you learn how to do something, no matter what it is, there is some change in you, right? It may be just, who knows, you're more confident about being able to face stuff that you don't know about. That's one. Or you start to think like, wow, this Twitter thing, if I really started to use it, I could use it in all these different ways, because suddenly I'm connected to all these different people in different ways and so on. Like, your understanding of connection to people might just be totally different after you figure out, how to use or how to manipulate or how to work some sort of social media platform. So in any event, that's the big deal. Is I want to make sure people have a thesis statement, and that's what that is. For this essay, it is, okay, I went through this experience, and I don't want to say I learned a lesson, because I sort of don't like the learning the lesson, right? I'd rather have it be like my perspective changed, right? I used to think this, like, only superstars and basketball players use Twitter. And so I don't have any, it has nothing to do with my life. And then I learned how to use it, and next thing you know, I'm involved in, I don't know, political discussions or something. Then I have some sort of idea, some change about my understanding of myself. All right, so you want to make sure you hook the interest, you have a thesis statement. Then basically, right, you need, for a narrative, I'm suggesting 3, they don't have to be super long, but, paragraphs. You want a beginning of the story, you want a middle of the story, and you want an end of the story. And again, just like, most short stories, or at least, and definitely personal essays, the whole point of telling a story is to emphasize or illustrate a change that's happened. I used to be this way. Here's how I started off. I approached it. Here's the thing I went through and why it was tough. And here's how I figured something out. And then the end. And then now I know something about, I've learned something. I mean, think about just regular literacy, right? It's like, yeah, we learned how to read, okay, and then we learned how to understand what we read. And then suddenly, like, we could read anything. It's like having a code, right? Like you understand, you break some sort of code, and suddenly you have access to all sorts of stuff, right? So that's sort of what they're trying to get at for the digital literacy. Like, your understanding changes. You learn how to do something, and then suddenly you're like, whoa, this means if I can do this, I can understand all sorts of things, or try a bunch of different things, and so on. Anyway, so you want to try to structure it like with a beginning and a middle and an end. So you have your introduction, you get their interest, you explain sort of what the meat of it's going to be. Is it going to be about Instagram, about Twitter? Is it going to be about learning, I don't know, how to code, something like that. Anyway, and then here's the thesis. I finally, I learned that I could use Instagram, and I had tools. Right? Instead of being on the outside, being like, gosh, I don't use those things, and those things are impossible. You could be on the inside. Now you're like, oh, they're part of a tool. They're like writing and reading. I can use them to do things. That would be the idea. All right, so the middle is, beginning, middle, end. Then you have supports and develops your thesis. So you're just basically showing, the change that happens by telling us a story. I really, I should put it here though, but I haven't. I just want to make sure that people, one of the big keys to this, and I guess I might have put it up here. Personal story about a specific episode during which you engaged in the process of digital literacy in a way that changed you or in some way led you to a deeper understanding of something. Again, not looking for like, don't believe in God, learn Snapchat, now I believe in God, right? Doesn't have to be super heavy. Mostly it will be, I don't know how to use these things. I probably never will, and then now I do, and suddenly what? Now I'm connecting with people who I haven't seen since second grade and all that business. Yeah, but the key I wanted to point out, just specific episode is going to be key. Like, you want to find a focus. When you don't find a focus, what you end up doing is doing like a survey of your technological past, right? When I was growing up, all I had was AM radio and that was it actually, and records, right? And then now I do, and I went from this to this to this. Like, none of that doesn't do anything but just give this sort of summary survey of your like march through time. Instead, you want to pick a specific thing that you dealt with. And that was difficult. That would be my other thing, right? You want something that was hard to do, like a project, right? Even like the first time you went on Facebook and you're like, so what's this about? And I hate it already, probably, but I don't. Let me see how I do it. And then you start typing in names. Oh my God, I forgot about that, right? You can do that. You narrate that, and suddenly you're like, okay, I can do this thing, and what I get out of it is I'm connecting with people I haven't seen forever. Who knows? But anyway, that's so a specific episode or project, or you need a unifying idea. That's the thing I'm worried about. That's the most difficult, I think, for this essay. And then the conclusion, it's briefly summarizing the change that has happened. And the other thing to do to make it a solid essay is you want to refer back to whatever the hook is. So you might repeat some of the words that you used in the hook. It just makes the essay tighter, right? If you, in the conclusion, you sort of, it's like comedians when they if they hit something like 3 times, like they hit a topic 3 times, it's supposed to be like, it's a callback. That's what it's called. So it like makes the joke funnier. So anyways, you're looking at that to do that one time. That's all that is. So that's the narrative.